A Tesla stock bear just became a bull. The Tesla economist says Tesla has a new lifeline, robotaxi reveal. I'm going to start accumulating options for this event. And Tesla stock was up today almost 5%. And it's all Tesla because the market was flat. If you like good news, click the like button. The Tesla economist Lee did the math and he projects that if the progress of FSD continues like it has between V11 and V12, in 3 years, FSD will be safer or as safe as human driving, and in 4 years, it will be about 10 times safer than human driving. Look at how bearish he was before. But he also said actions speak louder than words, and if Tesla truly believed they would solve FSD soon, they would be making autonomous vehicle factories. Well, we'll find out on August 8th. In the meantime, he's bullish now. And while at the end of 2022, Lee screwed up big time by selling Tesla stock close to $100, he later bought back in and he sold at about $250-ish. And now he opened a tiny position at $173-ish roughly. And Wall Street analysts are now becoming bullish on FSD. Check this out. Canaccord Genuity analysts just released a new note. We, for our part, are autonomy uber bulls, unabashed and unrelenting. We believe AVs are set to increase resource utilization, improve productivity, save lives, and much more. We see vehicle autonomy as one of the highest value-creating technologies to be deployed ever. Full autonomy not only has the potential to improve resource utilization, the key underlying tenet of sustainability, but to also enhance human productivity, decongest highways, downsize vehicle fleets, provide transport to billions of underserved, and save lives. Big stuff. Yes, the technology needs to get better and or cheaper, and regulatory needs to be clarified, but despite failed promises, autonomy is well on its way. It's all happening somewhat slowly relative to previously missed timelines, but then will likely happen all at once, slowly and all at once, at least in terms of the public's willingness to let go of the wheel and the technology's ability to make it happen. Which brings us to Elon Musk and Tesla. They will be leaders in autonomy in our opinion, despite some extended deployment timetables. Yes, they have taken a different controversial technology approach, but we think the market has room for multiple solutions. We cannot stand here and say definitely that Tesla's camera-only neural network approach is the only technology winner long-term, or that Mobileye system, one that uses machine learning and large language model components but is connected by traditional software code, is a sure technology bet, or that Aurora's hybrid approach similar to Mobileye's with heavy use of simulated miles is the one. What we can say, however, is that these three appear to be ahead of the pack and likely winners in their respective end markets, including others like Waymo. Waymo is not going to scale. You need people to map out every single inch of the city. It's just too expensive to sustain that and maintain that. We currently see Tesla and Mobileye as winners in the passenger AV market. Being vertically integrated is crucial to constructing a well-functioning AV system. We think many independent OEM efforts will wind down over time. I agree, for reasons including lack of scale, leaving room for Mobileye to gain traction as a merchant vendor to multiple OEMs. We see Tesla's system as well functioning and likely used exclusively for its own vehicle fleet for some time. I agree with that part. We see Aurora as dominant in US autonomous trucking, which in our opinion is sufficient for the stock to reach our price target. Now back to Tesla. It's been topsy-turvy lately, even by Tesla standards. Deliveries were weak, and we have written a lot on the topic. We see both demand and supply issues to blame. Underneath all the near-term issues, however, we found Friday's news, the most interesting and important long-term, the robotaxi unveil. A lengthy Reuters article hit on Friday morning, implying that Tesla's next-gen vehicle was being scrapped, driving the stock down intraday. And in response, Elon Musk replied on X that Reuters is lying again. Over the weekend, Tesla chief designer Franz reinforced Mr. Musk's statements and advised just to stay tuned. Don't always believe what you read. In the chaos, Mr. Musk announced that on August 8th, the Tesla robotaxi would be revealed. What does this all mean? Well, here's our take. It could be that the company has accelerated the development of its full robotaxi based on confidence in FSD. It could also be that low-cost Chinese EVs have led Tesla to believe its true competitive advantage will be based more on a combination of cost and autonomy rather than cost alone. It could also be that Reuters' article is meaningless and that there has possibly been another strategy shift altogether. Either way, we do not believe the company has completely scrapped its plans for both vehicle options. I agree. We'll see if there are any changes to timing. We are modeling 100,000 next gen vehicle units in 2026. Gary Black was included in the article on Barron's. By the end of the decade, at the rate Tesla is selling cars, Gary Black's approach might mean 5 or 6 million drivers paying Tesla about $2,400 a year. That's a $12 billion plus business with software-like profit margins. Roy says, I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla unveils 2 identical looking vehicles on August 8th. One will be the robotaxi without a steering wheel and pedals, and the other will be the compact car. They might say production starts now for the robotaxi version, but later for the compact car version. My interpretation of that would be 100 test units for the robotaxi while they continue working on the technology for the next 5 to 10 years, and the compact car is delayed until 2028. Tesla's chief designer answered this question.
What's happening with the $25,000 car? Is it canceled? Is it just deprioritized? Has it been delayed? There was a lot of confusion on Friday, and we saw Elon's tweet in response, but that just created more confusion. And I know there's been back and forth on this from the Walter Isaacson book, but sure. I think investors and consumers would love to know if the $25,000 car is dead or just on the back burner.
I would just say stay tuned. Don't always believe in what you read.
So not a very specific statement, a pretty broad statement. It could mean a lot of things. The bears will say it's bearish and the bulls will say it's bullish. My take on this is that Franz basically provided no new information other than confirm that Tesla does not want to openly communicate about what's going on exactly. Because right now at this point, it would be bullish, I believe, for Tesla to say, no, the next generation vehicle, the compact, is not delayed. We are still working on it. And we are also working on the robotaxi. Instead, he answered it more like a politician. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just pointing it out. Communication. Clear communication has never been a strength of Tesla overall as a company and the team. Roy sounds pretty bearish about FSD. Tesla has never tested a driverless vehicle before. There will be 1,000 expected problems to solve. Therefore, we should expect it to take 5 to 10 years to develop the technology after Tesla begins testing it with a small fleet of around 100 driverless robotaxis. When exactly did Tesla start testing FSD in the open, I think, is the bigger question. We can argue about that a lot. One could say, well, FSD V12, that's when Tesla really went mainstream because free trials started then. Another point of view could be, well, it started with V11 wide release because anyone that wanted FSD could then get it. While it is, of course, true that Tesla didn't launch robotaxis in 2020, they did launch FSD beta to customers and have continued improving it since. The progress is real, and I have witnessed the progress of V12. V11 was extremely impressive for someone who has never tried FSD. I can't imagine how impressive FSD V12 is to someone who has never tried FSD before. It's mind-blowing, really. But of course, it still has quite a few issues, but the progress between V11 and V12 is astounding. This 2019 event was about software. What is being unveiled this year is a new vehicle on the next generation platform. Robotaxi is one vehicle on the next generation platform, but I also expect a robovan with configurations for cargo or 12 to 14 passengers and a compact crossover. Many are conflating this robotaxi unveiled with his discussion of the software strategy in 2019, but this is actually an unveil of their new vehicle platform and the first vehicle built on it, a driverless robotaxi with no manual controls. Troy has been really accurate with his delivery predictions, so I think it is worth spending some time here. In 2026 and 2027, Gigataxis will have excess production capacity they could use to produce either the compact car or more Model 3s or Ys or more Cybertrucks. Depending on what they choose, Tesla sales in the US would look like this in 2026 and 2027 based on Troy's estimates. Which option do you like best? Option A, more compact cars produced in 2026 and 2027. He estimates it would be 250,000. Option B, more Model 3s and Ys produced. And option C, more Cybertrucks produced. Now, in each case, Tesla would produce Cybertrucks, but in this case, it would produce 109,000 more Cybertrucks. If by then Tesla is not producing anything in Mexico, or if for some reason cannot produce anything in Mexico, I think option C perhaps makes more sense. This is because they will drive more profit per vehicle and won't Osborne the other vehicles. If you are buying a Cybertruck, chances are not very high that you were going to buy a Model 3 or a Model Y, but if you're buying the next generation compact, yeah, there's a good chance you were going to buy a Model 3, for example. It doesn't make sense to build 250,000 compacts in 26 or 27 unless there is also a way to build 1 million or more elsewhere in the following year. But if we can build a lot of these compacts, then I think option A makes a lot of sense. Or ideally, why couldn't we do both option A and option C at the same time? Build more Cybertrucks and more compacts. And this is a warning to Tesla stock investors. It looks like Giga Mexico is delayed until 2028 due to battery supply issues, and that makes it less attractive to produce the compact car Giga Texas at a lower volume in 26 and 27 because of fears it might cannibalize Model 3 and Y sales. Troy also commented on why the Giga Mexico factory is delayed. There is no battery factory yet that will supply Giga Mexico. It typically takes 2.5 years to build a battery factory, but they have not even started yet. Panasonic Kansas factory will start delivering cells to Tesla in 2025, so there will be some batteries from there. Tesla has been trying to make 4680 cells at a high volume for the past 3 years. Initially, the cell production line was working at 1% capacity, then the next year it increased to 3%, now it works at 6% capacity. They are trying to improve it. Tesla's old plan was to partner with CATL to build a cell factory in the US and CATL would manufacture the cells. So that plan is now canceled because in December of 2023, the IRS clarified that they would not get the tax credit because CATL is a Chinese company and the tax credit rules describe China as a foreign entity of concern. The new plan is to license the technology from CATL, and then Ford and Tesla will produce the cells themselves. It's unclear if this workaround would work for getting the tax credit though. There are calls to close this loophole. Ford is trying to get clarification. Tesla is copying Ford and waiting to see what happens. Panasonic only managed to increase 2170 cell production by 15% in the past few years. The cell factory Tesla needs for Giga Mexico is 3 times the size of Giga Nevada. Back to that poll, the reason why Troy doesn't think both are possible at the same time is because there's only so much space in the building, but couldn't they expand the building? Ross Gerber expressed some doubt about FSD. The biggest risk to Tesla FSD adoption is the humans themselves preventing it. When will a car ever drive perfectly on its own? How could FSD never crash with humans operating around it? Will humans accept some level of failure rate with FSD cars? I think extreme transparency in terms of how many miles the fleet on FSD has driven, and then what was the accident rate and what was the fatality rate on average for every, let's say, 100 million miles driven. That transparency, I think, is going to be extremely important. If there are any doubts about the transparency or the numbers being accurate, that would slow everything down. But because all Teslas are connected to the internet, basically, I don't think it would be hard to have very high transparency. Certainly, the information that came out haphazardly on Friday is consequential in the Tesla story. We are trying to understand how and when Tesla will make the rude transition from selling EVs to selling robots and robot cars. Not sure what the financial side of this will look like. It's going to be huge. That's what it's going to look like. Tesla AI tech lead / manager said as of March 2024, our end-to-end neural net-based driving policy, FSD supervised, has been deployed to 2 million vehicles in the US, and the rest of the safety plus autopilot software stack is running on 6 million vehicles globally. That's a lot of data collection. Good luck for any other company catching up to that. This is for FSD deniers. Watch this video of my Tesla performing 2 ride-share pickups and drop-offs with 0 interventions for 45 minutes and explain to me why it's impossible to scale that up to 450 minutes and then 4,500 minutes and then 450,000 minutes. It's coming and it's happening. It's inevitable. It's just a matter of time. I really don't think we should give up now. Today, FSD is as bad as it's going to ever be. It will only get better from here on. A Tesla saved another life. A story of how FSD helped bring someone to the ER in the middle of the night. Wow. There's no way this guy is ever going to buy any vehicle without FSD. It happened on April 1st, so you would think it's an April Fool's joke, but no. Wow. I'm not going to read it, but Wow, look at what Tesla bears are saying. Tesla FSD is faker than Theranos. Oh, these people have never tried FSD in their own vehicle. I have a Tesla. I have FSD V12 with my vehicle installed, and I was able to perform drives. For example, this one of 15 minutes. It's a drive that I often do myself. So it's not some random thing I picked. No, it's something that I drive regularly. And it did it without any interventions. I have done that drive 4 times, and 2 of these times I had no interventions. One time I intervened, not because FSD did something wrong, but because another person was coming into my lane and I started honking and I slashed on the brake pedal. So really 3 out of 4 times, no interventions. The term vaporware is being used more and more by these clowns, even as the software gets better. I mean, if they called V11 vaporware, okay. I don't think, did I ever have a no intervention drive? Well, not any drive that I often do myself. But with V12, I have no intervention drives that I regularly do. Not a made up route that's easy for FSD to go through. No, it's a drive I often take myself. Here's someone else doing a 51-mile zero disengagement and zero intervention drive. Wow. All right. Well, these were not difficult conditions, but we are seeing completely random people showing videos like this. Gary made this post back in August, but it's getting some serious attention now. Not sure why Tesla doesn't just buy Uber to get into autonomous ride hailing and get all the data from its platform of 137 million consumers who take 25 million trips per day. I agree with Bradford. There is zero chance Tesla will acquire Uber. Tesla would need to pay a buyer's premium, so it costs Tesla $210 billion, and Tesla has nowhere near that much in cash. At most, all the lessons that Uber has learned are worth $10 billion. Tesla can get the data they need and is already getting it from Tesla ride shares. I've seen some people on V12 that come back to their garage and they see gigabytes of data being uploaded to the internet. It's hard to take Elon Musk's predictions of FSD seriously, given his track record of wild exaggerations. He said we would be able to land a rocket, but I've never seen Starship do that yet. I mean, these small rockets don't count, right? He said the Model 3 would change everything, but the Model Y became the best-selling car instead, not the Model 3. And he said we would be able to control computers using our brain with Neuralink, and so far, they have only done it with just one single guy, which of course does not prove anything. So no, I'm not listening to the boy who cried wolf, even though in the original story, eventually the wolf does come and eat everyone. Check this out. Tesla is recruiting prototype vehicle operators in 15 locations across the US. Not one, 15, not just San Francisco. I am pretty sure this is related to Tesla's robotaxis. Miami, Florida, Colorado, Washington, Draper, Utah, Jacksonville, Florida, Houston, Texas, Brooklyn Park, Minnesota, Illinois, Massachusetts, Virginia, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Kansas, and one more place in Texas. Things are getting real. Now, Tesla's ADAS drivers were gone from the Chuck Cook's location, but now they are back. Multiple ADAS drivers are here again this morning. The pattern in recent weeks has been that they are validating a new build that they could release to employees in a week or so, and customers after that, possibly supervised FSD v12.4. But I am speculating. I think he's likely to be right. If you remember, Elon Musk said that FSD should be shining really bright by the end of April or May because a few more updates are going to come out. So I'm really looking forward to these releases. Wow, look at these used Teslas. This is also making it a bit harder for Tesla to deliver more new vehicles because we know that the Model 3s and the Model Ys, they are going to last a long time. So why buy a new one if you can get a used one if you don't mind a used one? He's asking, why would you buy a used Tesla with 40,000 miles? Is because it can probably go for another 160 and more. The average price of a used Tesla is now $31,500, meaning you can find many that will be cheaper. He scratched this back plastic piece on the Cybertruck pretty good, although at first I had a hard time seeing where the scratch is. It's right here, but because it's wet, it's a bit harder to see. Yeah, I really cannot see the scratch at all when it's zoomed out like this. So that's one piece that's a bit vulnerable on the Cybertruck in terms of and getting scratches. I wonder how much it's going to cost to replace it. We'll find out soon. Stephen Mark Ryan made a prediction: when compelling EVs hit the $20,000 to $30,000 range, it is over. The cost of EVs is declining over time. ICE vehicle prices are static. Century-old technology already at scale. As EV prices come down, more people can afford and will buy them. Concurrently, ICE sales will collapse and prices will rise as reversing economies of scale create an accelerating death spiral for ICE. People do not have intuition for disruption. It is already happening in China, and EV adoption over there is pretty good. Elon Musk today also did an interview, and he totally trolled the interviewer. Elon, I was speechless when he did that. You can also see my reaction. Just click on the video. You'll see exactly what happened. You can watch the whole interview. I put timestamps as well. It's only 30 minutes, so you can watch it quickly. He also talked about Tesla, so I highly recommend that you watch it. But man, that was hilarious.